Going on a late-night drive from the New York streets I'm familiar with to the promising horizons of North Carolina, I was fueled by a blend of nervous excitement and a deep-seated desire for change. The decision to make this journey, driven by the allure of job opportunities that promised not just financial stability, but a chance to escape the grueling cycle of part-time jobs and endless New York winters, marked the beginning of what I hoped would be a transformative chapter in my life. With my car parked and the well wishes of my family replaying in my ears, I set off into the night, the city skyline gradually fading in my rearview mirror, replaced by the dark expanse of the road ahead. The thrill of stepping into a new chapter was gradually overshadowed by the realization that a vehicle seemed to be following me. This suspicion became concerning as the same headlights appeared behind me at every turn and stopped, an unwelcome constant in the rearview mirror. The solitude of the late-night drive, once an opportunity for reflection, became a source of anxiety. The more lonely stretches of highway, where my only companions were fleeting headlights of passing cars, now emphasized my isolation. At first, the signs of being followed seemed subtle and easily dismissed as mere coincidences. However, as the journey continued, the persistence of the mysterious vehicle became undeniable. Its presence loomed larger with each mile, turning what should have been a straightforward drive into a situation fraught with fear. My attempts to rationalize the situation were in vain. The undeniable fact was that I was being followed. The increasing paranoia was a product of my imagination and a response to another vehicle's clear and persistent pursuit. The drive, intended as a step towards a hopeful future, had taken a sinister turn, leaving me to navigate the physical distance to my destination in the growing fear of what might await on the road ahead. The journey took a sudden turn for the worse when my car, without warning, stopped on a deserted stretch of highway. This mechanical failure left me stranded, amplifying my vulnerability in the vast, empty darkness. The following vehicle, which I had noticed earlier, ominously pulled up behind me, heightening the sense of threat and danger that now swallowed me. Desperate, I decided to escape into the woods adjacent to the highway. Utilizing the cover of darkness, I sought refuge among the trees, hoping to elude my pursuer. The hours spent hiding were filled with intense fear and uncertainty. Every leaf rustle and branch snap in the quiet of the night sent waves of panic through me as I remained alert to any sign of discovery. The wait for dawn was fraught with anxiety, each minute stretching on endlessly. Hidden in the woods, I was constantly on edge, aware of how exposed I felt despite the concealment provided by the darkness. As the first light of morning began to penetrate the dense foliage, it brought a cautious sense of relief. Emerging from my hiding spot, I was shaken but unharmed, a testament to the instinctual drive for survival that had guided me through the night's ordeal. As the first light of dawn crept over the horizon, the terror of the night began to dissipate, revealing a deserted highway bathed in a soft, early morning glow. The vehicle that had been following me, a source of immense dread, was gone. After stepping out from my makeshift refuge in the woods, I felt relief and vulnerability washed over me. The ordeal had pushed me to my limits, both physically and emotionally, leaving me to grapple with the impact of the night's events to my outlook and future decisions. In the final year of high school, tied up between exams and plans, my girlfriend and I longed for a break. We were just two teenagers trying to savor the moments of youth left to us, caught between the anticipation of adulthood and the nostalgia of our ending childhood. After a modest dinner that barely dented our limited budget, we decided to take a night drive, craving the freedom and adventure that seemed so scarce in our structured lives. The drive was our escape, a way to momentarily forget the pressures of senior year and immerse ourselves in the simple joy of being together. Our journey began with laughter and soft music, the car's headlights cutting through the darkness as we ventured between the town's familiar streets. The road led us to a secluded dirt path, an artery through the heart of the dense woods that bordered our town. The air that night shifted from fresh to foul, marking our first sign of unease. As we stopped to catch a breath, the smell was overpowering, clashing with an evening of freedom and light-hearted adventure. Despite our efforts to ignore it, the stench was a stark reminder that not all was as it seemed. Then came the scream, a sound so piercing and filled with terror that it rooted us to the spot. It wasn't just a cry for help. It was a desperate, fearful call that seemed to come straight from the depths of the forest surrounding us. I couldn't leave it uninvestigated, not when every instinct told me someone or something was in distress. Leaving my girlfriend safely locked in the car, I entered the darkness with only my phone's flashlight for guidance. The forest felt alive, each rustle of leaves heightening my anxiety. When I took a photo, hoping to glimpse the source of the scream, what I saw on my screen stopped me cold. A man standing unnervingly still in front of a blue tarp, his striped shirt the only clear detail in the dim light. The sight was enough to turn fear into action. I sprinted back to the car, my heart pounding against my chest. Fear gripped me tighter with each step, urging me to move faster. "We need to get out of here now," I gasped, throwing myself into the driver's seat. The car roared to life under my trembling hands, and we sped away from that nightmarish scene, leaving the darkness and its horrors behind. The drive back was a blur, each of us lost in our thoughts. The silence between us was heavy with unspoken fear. The only noise was the car's tires on the road, a frantic rush to return to the safety of familiar streets and the glow of city lights. We didn't speak. Words seemed inadequate to express the terror we escaped. What if we hadn't left when we did? Her voice a mix of fear and relief. The question hung in the air, unanswered but understood. We had narrowly escaped a nightmare, and the realization was enough to bond us in a shared resolve to never venture into such darkness again. I decided to go on this journey filled with excitement and anticipation, aiming for a weekend escape to Vermont. The promise of snowboarding with friends and the break from the daily grind had me eager to hit the road. My trusty 2006 Ford F-150 was packed to the brim with gear, ready for that snowy adventure that lay ahead. Leaving behind the city's hustle, I set out into the winter night, my spirits high despite the chilling weather. The first few hours on the road were serene, a peaceful solitude I relished. The snowflakes, illuminated by my truck's headlights, added a magical touch to the drive, making the journey seem like a passage through a different realm. The roads, less traveled at this hour, offered a sense of isolation, a solitude that I found comforting, starkly contrasting my usual surroundings. However, as the night progressed, my tranquil journey turned unexpectedly. The temperature gauge on my dashboard began its ominous climb into the red zone, signaling trouble that my heart sank to witness. Stranded on that remote road, the cold seeping through every gap in the truck's cabin, I struggled with the engine, desperately trying to coax it back to life. The darkness was oppressive, making every sound seem louder, every silence more suffocating. I felt utterly alone, my vulnerability magnified by the isolation and the relentless snow that blurred the line between the road and the wilderness. That night, as I sat in my broken-down truck, cold and worried, I saw lights coming my way. A small Toyota pulled up, and for a moment, I felt lucky. The man driving it rolled down his window and asked if I needed help. I was so happy to see someone that I didn't notice something was off about him at first. "I need help. My truck won't start," I told him, trying to keep my voice steady. Instead of offering to help, the man's voice changed. Panic knotted in my stomach. yet a surge of adrenaline quickly overtook it. I understood my peril, not just stranded, but vulnerable to the whims of a man who saw an opportunity in my misfortune. My mind raced, seeking a way out. Okay, let me get my wallet," I stammered, feigning compliance while my brain screamed for action. As I pretended to search for my wallet, I glanced around for anything that could serve as a weapon or a shield. Finding nothing but the weight of desperation, I decided to trick him. "I can't find it. Can you help me look for it?" I asked, hoping he would fall for it. He paused, then nodded. As he got closer, I knew this was my chance. I pushed the door open hard, hitting him with it and making him fall back into the snow. We both struggled for a moment. I was scared, but I knew I had to get away. I pushed him as hard as I could, and for a second, he fell back, giving me just enough time. I jumped back into my truck, my heart racing. I turned the key, and to my surprise, the truck started. I didn't wait to see what he would do next. I drove off as fast as I could, leaving him in the fear behind. The drive after that was a mix of feelings. I was scared, relieved, and a bit proud that I had protected myself. That night taught me a lot. It showed me I could face scary things and get through them. When I finally got to Vermont, my friends were waiting. They were excited to see me, not knowing what I had just been through. As I told them my story, I realized how big of a deal it was. I had been in real danger, but made it through. That trip to Vermont was supposed to be a fun getaway, but it became a much bigger adventure. It wasn't just about snowboarding anymore. It was about facing something scary and getting past it. I learned that sometimes things can go very wrong, but we can deal with them. We can be stronger than we think.